The atmosphere in Manchester is heating up again, and the epicenter of the tension answers to a familiar name, Bernardo Silva. The Portuguese midfielder, one of Manchester City's most technical and consistent players since his arrival in 2017, appears to be living through days of indecision. His contract remains valid until 2026, but no extension has been announced. The speculation has, inevitably, begun to circulate again. At 31, the number 20 stands at a turning point in his career, and sources close to him insist he already knows which path he intends to take, although he insists on keeping the suspense. Shortly before the trip to face Monaco, his former club in the Champions League, Bernardo let slip that his decision was already made, but that he would only make it public at the right time. Since landing in England, the Portuguese has collected honors that place him among the greatest names of the Guardiola era. 6 Premier Leagues, several domestic cups, the Club World Cup, and, of course, the long-awaited Champions League in 2023. With the departures of veterans such as Kyle Walker and Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo took on the captain's armband and became a reference figure in the dressing room. His calm leadership and tactical understanding with Guardiola have turned him into a symbol of City's style. However, time is running. If the new deal is not signed by January 2026, he will be free to negotiate with any club. That is exactly how City lost Gundogan and De Bruyne himself. In Italy, movement is intense. Juventus and Milan have already opened preliminary talks with Jorge Mendes, the agent who manages Bernardo's career. Both clubs want to understand the conditions required for a possible deal. The major obstacle is financial. The player's annual salary is around 10 million euros, a heavy amount by Serie A standards, which would force cuts or compensations. Even so, the Italian sides are willing to try. Meanwhile, a sentimental name appears on the horizon. Benfica, where Bernardo was developed and from where he left while still young, dreams of the idol's return. Inside the Estadio de Luz, there are those who believe the midfielder could end his career at home as a gesture of reconciliation with his roots. For now, everything is speculation. City fans are simply hoping that the captain keeps wearing sky blue for a few more years. In parallel, attention turns to the heart of the team, Rodri. The Spanish holding midfielder, considered one of the most important players in the side, came off injured during the 1-0 win over Brentford. The concern was immediate, but Nico Gonzalez, teammate and compatriot, brought more encouraging news. The current Ballon d'Or winner was substituted before half-time, sparking fears of a new knee injury, a problem that had already kept him out for weeks at the start of the season. Fortunately, the initial assessments indicate something less serious: muscular discomfort in the back of the thigh, unrelated to the knee. Even so, the medical staff do not want to take risks. Guardiola has already admitted that Rodri has been playing at the limit for months. In recent interviews, the coach revealed that the midfielder even played through intense pain against Burnley. When he limped against Brentford, the entire stadium held its breath. For many, Rodri is irreplaceable, the silent engine that gives City balance and consistency. Nico Gonzalez, in an interview with the Manchester Evening News, sought to calm nerves. It's not that serious. He'll be back soon. He's essential for the team, and everyone knows it. The young Spaniard also commented on his own growth under Pep's orders. "I'm confident, learning every game. Here, everything is intensity. Every minute on the pitch is a lesson." This evolution is no accident. Since arriving from Porto, Nico has been groomed to be the natural alternative to Rodri, someone capable of understanding the game model in detail and offering the same composure in the build-up. For now, the plan is to give Rodri full recovery time. Guardiola does not intend to rush the return of the team's most influential player, especially before the Champions League round of 16. The club has already seen what happens when the Spaniard is absent: a drop in performance, loss of midfield control, and defensive vulnerability. The focus is to have him 100% fit for the decisive moments of the season. Meanwhile, another topic is beginning to dominate behind the scenes: reinforcements. The football department, led by Txiki Begiristain, is studying possible moves for January. City are monitoring a gap that has lingered since the summer: right back. Since the departures of João Cancelo and Kyle Walker, Pep has improvised, alternating Rico Lewis and even Matheus Nunes in the role. During the summer window, names such as Denzel Dumfries of Inter and Tino Livramento of Newcastle were linked. There were even talks about a possible swap involving Rico Lewis, but the youngster ended up renewing his contract until 2030. Even so, the coaching staff believe the squad still needs a solid option in the position for the coming fixture congestion. One of the names who surprised at the start of the season was Abdulkadir Kusanov, a defender from Uzbekistan. Despite his youth, he showed maturity and was praised by Guardiola before suffering an injury. According to MailSport, City will reassess his situation after the international break. If Kusanov shows physical progress and consistency, he may remain an internal bet. Otherwise, the board will not hesitate to act in the market. In addition, there is another point of attention: the future of Calvin Phillips. The English midfielder, signed from Leeds in 2022, never managed to establish himself under Guardiola. Between injuries and fierce competition with Rodri, the player lost ground. Loans to West Ham and Ipswich Town did not help him recover his shine. At 28, Phillips seems to face a crossroads similar to Bernardo's. Everton, who recently negotiated with City for Jack Grealish, have emerged as a candidate to offer a temporary exit. According to Football Insider, the Liverpool club are considering a 6-month loan, believing that Phillips's experience and defensive strength could help David Moyes' midfield. The idea appeals to all parties. City keep control, the player gets minutes, and Everton bolster a needy area. Pep Guardiola, in a cautious tone, said he still counts on the player but did not guarantee consistent involvement. The coach knows the athlete needs to play to regain confidence, and the packed 2025 calendar could open opportunities. Otherwise, a change of scenery in January seems inevitable. The scenario at Manchester City, therefore, is one of transition. The club, accustomed to dictating the pace of European football, now deals with internal adjustments and important decisions that will shape the future. Bernardo Silva, a symbol of loyalty and elegance, Rodri, the brain of the machine, and Phillips, the promise of redemption, each carries a story that could change course in the coming weeks. In the corridors of the Etihad, the mood is one of controlled calm. Guardiola, known for his almost obsessive perfectionism, monitors every detail of the team with his usual intensity. He knows Manchester City are at a crucial stage, not only on the pitch, but off it as well. The structure that sustained the club's recent hegemony needs adjusting to withstand the natural wear of a winning cycle. The departures of idols such as De Bruyne and Walker have already left their mark, and the possible loss of Bernardo would be another heavy blow to the continuity of the project. Sources close to the coach say he considers Bernardo an irreplaceable player, not only for his technique but for his competitive mindset. Guardiola often repeats that Bernardo thinks the game like a coach, and that is one of the reasons why the Portuguese has survived all the team's tactical revolutions. In the seasons when City wobbled, it was he who maintained the standard of excellence. If he decides to leave, he will leave a void that will not be easily filled. While the board tries to convince him to stay, Pep works quietly to shape the next generation. The presence of youngsters such as Rico Lewis, Oscar Bob, and Nico Gonzalez himself is part of a broader strategy: to renew without losing identity. The coach understands that the longevity of a cycle depends on blending youth and experience. That is why each City match is also a succession test. In training, Guardiola has alternated formations, preparing the team for different scenarios. Rodri's temporary absence forced the Spaniard to try variations with Nico and even a deeper stone. This flexibility, although challenging, strengthens the group. We need to learn to survive even when our pillars are not available, the coach is said to have told the players in one of the tactical meetings, according to The Athletic. The supporters, in turn, live with a mix of pride and apprehension. Pride for witnessing a historic era. Apprehension because they feel the current squad is beginning to show signs of saturation. In the stands, it is common to hear comparisons between the 2023 European champions and the team now. Some see a loss of intensity, others blame the exhausting schedule. But everyone agrees on one thing: without Rodri and Bernardo on the pitch, City lose their soul. Nico Gonzalez has been the most cited name among fans. Young, technical, and disciplined, the Spaniard embodies what Guardiola values most: collective understanding. On the pitch, he moves as if he were reading the coach's mind. This ability to anticipate plays and cover spaces has made a difference in high-level matches. Internally, there is already talk that he is the new Rodri project. On the executive side, Begiristain and Ferran Soriano remain firm on medium-term planning. The club want to reinforce specific areas and avoid impulsive signings. The priority is to keep the spine: Ederson, Ruben Dias, Rodri, Foden, and Haaland, all considered untouchable. The rest of the squad is viewed with a degree of flexibility, which means the right offers can be heard. In this context, the search for a right back is more than a tactical need. It is also an attempt to avoid overloading versatile players. Rico Lewis has shown maturity, but he is still young to endure the Premier League's intensity and succession. Guardiola wants an experienced name with tactical reading and physical resilience, capable of alternating between defensive duties and build-up play. Among the profiles studied, besides Dumfries, there have also been inquiries for Jeremy Frimpong of Bayer Leverkusen and Vanderson of Monaco. Both have the aggressive and dynamic style that appeals to the coach. The problem, once again, is the cost. The post-Euro 2024 inflated market has made any negotiation a challenge. Another recurring topic in internal conversations is the form of some players who arrived with great expectations, such as Matheus Nunes and Jack Grealish. The Brazilian has alternated between good and bad moments, still trying to consolidate himself in Pep's system. Grealish, after an irregular season, is trying to rediscover his prominence. The coach has been patient but demanding. He knows each player needs to justify the investment made. Off the pitch, the European press continue to keep a close eye on every City move. The possibility of Bernardo Silva leaving the club has rekindled speculation about a new Guardiola reshuffle. Analysts believe the Spaniard is already preparing the squad for the post-2026 cycle, regardless of whether he remains in charge. Pep himself has a contract until 2025, and there are rumors this could be his last spell in England before a possible return to Spain or to the Brazilian national team, a hypothesis he has neither confirmed nor denied. Meanwhile, in the dressing room, the message is one of unity. Rodri, even while injured, has been actively involved in meetings and tactical sessions. The player is seen as a silent leader, someone who commands respect by presence alone. His influence on the younger ones is evident. Nico and Foden, for example, mentioned in recent interviews that they learn by observing how the Spaniard reads the game and anticipates movements. City are preparing for a decisive run of matches in the Premier League and the Champions League. Guardiola knows the coming months will define the direction of the season, and perhaps the future of the project. Internally, he has repeated that great teams are measured by their reaction in the face of uncertainty. This sentence sums up the current spirit. The club are not in crisis, but face a transitional moment that demands precision. Rodri's recovery, Bernardo's decision, the possible arrival of a new fullback, and Phillips's situation are pieces of the same board. Each move affects the next. Guardiola, like a chess player, calculates not only the immediate play but the impact on the coming seasons. Behind the scenes, the relationship between coach and board remains solid. The mutual trust built over almost a decade is City's main asset. Begiristain knows Pep's style and works to ensure he always has the ideal player profile. This alignment explains why the club rarely make market mistakes. Even signings that did not deliver immediate returns are usually conceived within a broader context, with long-term planning. In summary, Manchester City are experiencing a conscious transition. There is no desperation, only strategy. Every decision, renew or sell, sign or promote, is made based on data, performance, and future projection. Guardiola and his team know the secret of success lies in continuity and balance. The supporters, accustomed to wins and titles, are beginning to understand that a new cycle is being drawn. There may be painful changes, such as the departure of idols, but the objective is clear: to keep the club at the top of Europe. And for that, City will remain faithful to their philosophy: collective play, tactical intelligence, and absolute discipline. Bernardo Silva's saga extends far beyond Manchester's borders. In Spain and Portugal, sports newspapers dedicate entire pages to his future, with headlines that only fuel the uncertainty. As reported that the Portuguese might accept a new adventure outside England for personal reasons, while Record claimed he still considers City his home but desires a challenge that moves him emotionally. This ambiguity only deepens the mystery, and Pep Guardiola, fully aware of the psychological impact of such speculation, has shielded his squad as best he can. During press conferences, the manager avoids feeding rumors. When questioned, he simply says, "Bernardo is vital, and I hope he stays with us for many years." But those who follow City daily sense something deeper behind that calm tone. Guardiola is a long-term strategist. He understands that, however painful the departure of a symbol may be, adaptation is part of evolution. For weeks, he has been discreetly working on tactical alternatives and players who could partially replicate Bernardo's role on the pitch. Among the internal options, Phil Foden is the most likely to assume greater creative responsibility. The Englishman has matured, learned to handle pressure, and technically appears ready to become the new cerebral engine of the team. City are also closely monitoring Jamal Musiala of Bayern and Florian Wirtz of Leverkusen, two young players Guardiola has admired for some time. The idea is not to replace talent with talent, but to reconfigure the midfield structure, making it more fluid and less dependent on a single conductor. Meanwhile, in the medical department, all eyes remain on Rodri. His recovery is progressing as expected, and there is optimism about his return in the next Premier League match. The Spaniard is the kind of player who redefines the rhythm of a game. With him on the pitch, City not only dominate possession, but also command respect. Without him, the team becomes vulnerable, as was evident in the defeat to Aston Villa last month. Guardiola has said before that Rodri is the clock that dictates the team's tempo, and that phrase has become almost a mantra among supporters. The squad knows it. Rodri's leadership is silent but firm. He is not the type to talk much. His communication comes through gestures and positioning. In training, it's common to see him calmly guiding youngsters like Rico Lewis and Oscar Bob with precision. This profile has made him a reference point, comparable to Fernandinho at his peak. The difference is that Rodri, beyond physical strength and tactical awareness, carries a rare elegance in his touch. Amid all this, Manchester City strive to preserve emotional balance. The season is long and mental fatigue weighs as heavily as physical strain. Guardiola, conscious of that, has altered training routines, introducing shorter sessions and active recovery work. The goal is to keep the squad fresh, especially since the club are still competing in 4 simultaneous tournaments. Every match, every point, could determine the success or failure of the current project. The fans, ever passionate, are starting to divide. Some believe Bernardo Silva's departure could open space for renewal and fresh ideas. Others, more conservative, fear that losing the captain would weaken the team's competitive soul. On social media, this debate grows intense. Hashtags calling for the Portuguese to renew his contract go viral after each win, while analysts debate ideal replacements for his playing style. Within the boardroom, there is consensus that City must act calmly. The club has never allowed external pressure to dictate its path. The plan, sustained for years, rests on 3 pillars: financial stability, internal development, and strategic recruitment. Guardiola's presence is considered essential to maintaining that balance. Even so, concern about the future persists. His contract expires in 2025, and so far there are no signs of renewal. Rumors suggest Pep may be planning the next stage of his career. Some Spanish outlets claim he would like to coach the national team after his City tenure. Others hint that he dreams of returning to Barcelona, but only with full autonomy. In Manchester, the club are acting discreetly. Their priority is to convince the manager to stay at least until 2027, ensuring stability during the squad's transition. While these discussions unfold behind the scenes, the focus on the pitch remains absolute. Haaland, top scorer and fan idol, has shown growing leadership. Despite his youth, the Norwegian has become the emotional anchor. After training, he often gathers teammates to reinforce the winning mentality Guardiola preaches. "It doesn't matter who leaves, City will always be City," he reportedly said in one of the latest locker room talks, according to the Daily Mail. That collective spirit is what keeps the team competitive, even amid uncertainty. The culture Pep has built does not rely on one name or a single star, but on a mindset. Everyone plays under the same logic: intelligent possession, intensity, and tactical discipline. So even if Bernardo decides to go, City trusts their structure to reinvent itself. Behind the scenes, there are also quiet moves regarding future reinforcements. The board maintain a short list of targets for midfield and defense. Beyond Frimpong, there is interest in young talents from Portuguese and French football. The recruitment policy remains firm: sign under 23 players who can be shaped within the club's philosophy. This is how City intend to ensure longevity without breaking their identity. What few notice is that this strategy goes beyond the pitch. The Manchester City brand has become a global phenomenon. Shirt sales, commercial partnerships, and media reach have grown exponentially in recent years. Today, the club is more than a team. It is an integrated sporting and business project. That makes every squad decision directly influence the brand's global positioning. In that sense, keeping figures like Bernardo and Rodri represents not just technical value, but symbolic weight. They embody the City style: intelligent, disciplined, loyal to the system. Therefore, any change is handled with near-surgical caution. Guardiola knows stability is the most precious asset a champion can possess. With the January window approaching, the board prepare for weeks of crucial decisions. If Bernardo delays renewal, City may advance their search for replacements. If Rodri feels another strain, Nico Gonzalez will take full charge, and if Calvin Phillips is indeed loaned out, another signing slot will open. Each piece moves within a calculated chessboard. What we see is a Manchester City in transition, but with purpose. A club that has learned to dominate the Premier League not only with the ball, but with intelligence beyond the touchline. Doubts exist, yet control remains. Pep Guardiola and his staff continue to lead one of the most consistent projects in modern football history. And so, through silent decisions and inevitable new beginnings, Manchester City keep writing another chapter of their golden era. Bernardo Silva still reflects on his future. Rodri fights against time to return to midfield, and Guardiola, the maestro behind it all, continues to shape the team with the precision of someone who understands football is not built on haste, but on vision. The fans watch, feel, dream. Every piece of news is a breath of hope, every silence a sign of mystery. What comes next could redefine the club's recent history: a new phase, perhaps a new protagonist, but always the same essence: beautiful football, total control, and the mentality that turned City into a symbol of tactical perfection. And if one thing is certain, it is that the cycle never ends. It transforms. Just as the club evolves each season, we fans keep following every step, every detail, every decisive moment that keeps the sky blue flame alive. So if you've made it this far, leave your like and subscribe now. That helps the channel keep bringing you all the latest updates, behind-the-scenes stories, and insights that make Manchester City one of the most fascinating clubs on the planet. Turn on notifications, share with other fans, and comment on what you expect from this new cycle. The future is at stake, and it begins now.